Sekhmet, the breath of the desert, the lady of terror and healing, and quite the complicated deity. She is the reason why I felt that the thread from those past several readings wasn't quite complete yet. Because she had started to come through in meditation and, is getting synchronicities related to her. And it's interesting how, in the darkest part of the year, I'm starting to reestablish my relationship to the Egyptian deities. And I don't know, the way I think of them is like they're the dark solar gods, like the underworld solar gods. They have that kind of dual nature. And I had mentioned that this series of readings in this lunar cycle, they all feel like they may have that thread in common. And we started out on the Gemini full moon with that reading themed around duality. And now here we are on the full moon in Cancer. And I'm feeling the theme of destructive change. And I couldn't get much further past that in meditation than just the theme is destructive change. So I wanted to grab one of these Moonology cards and see if we can get a little bit more about this theme. Let's see. Thought that was a nice little button up with the lunar cycle, full moon to full moon, doing the Moonology cards. Oh, abundance, domicile moon. And that's very Tatooine. It's got that desert look to it. Interesting. So destructive change to lead to abundance. And that does kind of fit the main story around her, being the Eye of Ra, and her being sent down to the earth in retribution for the way man was disrespecting the gods. And then eventually she had to be sedated with beer that was dyed to look like human blood. And then when she woke up, she was in her not so angry form. I was trying to think of the word, whatever. But Hathor, benevolent. There we go. Her benevolent form. So let's start getting into this. It's interesting. When any sort of major change is on the horizon, I don't know, the inkling is, at least I think, to try the constructive change route first. But what do you do when that doesn't work? So we'll get into it. And please use your discernment when I'm saying destructive change. It doesn't necessarily have to be physically destructive. It means that preserving what is doesn't necessarily have to be the goal, because some things are not salvageable. 9 of Cups, more abundance. And that is following the 8. That's the person leaving. That's that Saturn and Pisces card. But they're leaving because something is fully dried up. Like you can see a river that has dried up in the foreground. And that's a form of destructive change. It wasn't, at your hand, but it was destruction in like the environment around you, and like, hey, this is no longer viable. I can't actually hang around here anymore because it's just not working. And it seems like choosing to not preserve, we're headed toward abundance. So tell me more. That sounds great. Might be difficult, as leaving things is hard. King of Cups, King of Chalices. And this looks like King Tut. I don't know if it actually says in the little description book, because it's such short descriptions. So mastery of emotions. And I'm going to go with that this is King Tut. Because something that just came to mind was the curse of King Tut's tomb. That, like, leave this undisturbed or face the consequences. And the perception around that was interesting because for the longest time we didn't know, what had caused that. But he passed away so early, his tomb was still under construction. So the paint was still wet. And so when the paint was still wet, when his tomb was sealed, I think the running hypothesis is that it started to develop mold, like microscopic mold. And so when people opened the tomb, they inhaled all of those spores and whatnot. And, thousands of years and so forth had gone by, so we had no immunity to what they were exposed to. And so it's kind of giving me like not getting caught up in your emotions, which is a lot for Sekhmet because she went on a rampage. She was in a frenzy when she came down to Earth. Maybe you gained control of that frenzy, not getting, mastering your emotions like the King of Cups, but still engaged in destructive change. Huh. Tell me more. But it seems very emotional, 2 cups cards to open. It could very well be a big change. Oh, 7 of Swords. Deception. And for some reason, I often hear that from the second Lion King, that very sing-song, like, deception way they say that in that song. So leaving something, not preserving things, not fixing things due to deception. And there's an Ankh back here. So it's like being deceived about the potential of a situation, that it had the potential for eternal life, longevity and whatnot. But then it really didn't. Could have been deception from external or internal, that this was your wish fulfillment. On the left here, just tell me more about the situation itself. What were we deceived about? I mean, I imagine something came to mind. But I want to know. What is this situation? Doesn't feel like the right question. What was the deception? How about that? Let's get further into that. Because Sekhmet was deceived with the beer that was dyed with the pomegranate juice. And it was like barrels and barrels of it, because she had an insatiable thirst. Higher power, moon goddess. And I mean, it was Thoth that hatched that plan with Ra. Thoth has those connections to Khonshu. So deception was a higher power? I'm gonna need more. This could be also Hierophant vibes I'm getting from that. So like an institution, a system, like whatever that respective system is for you, that could be your own family, that could be a friend group, something like that. It could be a coven if you're a member of that. It doesn't have to necessarily be organized, but very well could be. So tell me more about the deception. Looks like the Six of Swords in reverse. Deception to keep you in place. It does fit Sekhmet's story, because she did need to be sedated because she was on a rampage, but a rampage she was sent on because she was the Eye of Ra. Like, he tore his eye out, cast it to the ground, and it became Sekhmet. So it's like getting blamed for being brought into creation, you know, being blamed for your own nature. Could be a family thing. I totally relate to kind of being blamed for just existing. It seemed like that was a big problem when I was younger. Like, you know, kids pick up on everything. It just like, I could feel that my presence was unplanned and unwelcomed, you know? But what about this deception? Knight of Wands in reverse. Womanizer? Distorted creative energy? To keep you from creating? Because a womanizer, that's just what comes to mind, but it doesn't really fit this scenario. Wasn't that the knight, I think, from the previous readings? Yeah. It was the Knight of Wands in reverse and the Empress in reverse. That's right. So popping back up, maybe. Maybe that person, whoever that represented, had something to do with the deception, and they were like the lackey of the Empress. That was sloppy. Not quite understanding why you'd want to be kept from creating. There's a few. I'm actually going to take all these because it seems a little complicated. So Ace of Cups, the Tower, and the Five of Cups in reverse. Keeping you away from something that's your, like, ultimate love. And it doesn't need to be necessarily a person. It could be a passion project, a pursuit of some sort. It could be the unification with self. But then the Tower, like, trying to keep you away from this, brought in a tower for this higher power. And the Five of Cups in reverse, that's actually read a lot more positively. So it almost seems like the first two cards are their own, and then the last three are in their own little position. There's like a split, a delineation. But Five of Cups in reverse, you've processed the grief. Maybe the grief of the Tower, because even if a tower is positive, it's still a tower. It's still a major change. And that's going to be hard to deal with. I don't, if you've ever heard of the difference between like good stress and bad stress. It's like getting access to what you've been chasing this whole time. That's a positive tower, but it's still stressful. Maybe it's a type of stress you haven't experienced, you know, the stress of winning, the stress of relief. Because if you're used to, like, clinging to the side of a mountain, you know, in survival mode your whole life, and unpeeling yourself from the side of that, like, that's going to be painful on your hands and on your arms and whatnot. Finally letting your muscles relax, that hurts. I don't know if you've ever caught yourself like gripping. I'm a gripper. When I'm stressed out, I also clench my jaw a lot. And then when I finally loosen my hand or open my mouth and the cracking noise, it's bad. Let's see on the right. So the sense I'm getting is that this deception didn't work. So you get to change maybe into your benevolent form. Maybe the ferocity that has kept you going to this point isn't needed going forward. So what is forward? What were you trying to be kept away from? Because this is like the path that the gate was closed, but now it's open. You can hear that creaking noise. Like a gate that hasn't been opened in a really long time. So what's behind this gate? Shadow work. Isn't it always? It's a cool shadow work card. A lot of threes, though. There are 3 moons on each of these. I feel like you would have done a lot of shadow work already leading up to this. I mean, not that we're ever done, but this is what was trying, like you were trying to be prevented from accessing, was this shadow work, like integrating those wounds. Let's see. And Sekhmet is a healer. Just not necessarily a healer in the traditional sense. Because the image that I was getting during meditation, it's very Lady of Terror. Like, you know how vampires emerge from the darkness and they're all intimidating and whatnot? Like, imagine a lion doing that. And just all I see is pitch blackness around her. But very aggressive in the expression. And now we have the Queen of Cups. So from the king to the queen. Did someone try to deceive you that they're your match? And you doing shadow work like you would never go for that person? Or have reached a point where you're just incompatible with that person, like two paths diverge in a wood, you know? It's like that deception of trying to convince you that something is eternal life. And wasn't that the little short reading that I just put out? Like someone's going to come forward and try to present themselves as like a false twin flame or something, like something inappropriate in timeline, like going too fast. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. It could be business. It could be friendship. It could be anything. Anything that is just like, what's the rush? Like, why are we moving so quickly, you know? Like, I know there's those arbitrary expectations of, especially when it comes to like moving in together and stuff like that. Like, if this has to happen within a year, why? For why though? Because Cosmo said so? Like, think for yourself. If you want to read the magazines, like, that's cool, but you might be losing out on a good match with somebody if you hold them to like an arbitrary timeline or something. That kind of stuff really bothers me. Like, who is making these rules? There's a whole, what's it? Adam Ruins Everything? I don't know if that show's even still on, but there was a good one about like diamonds and engagement rings and whatnot, and really like the reason people are buying those is because of advertising agencies. Like, there's really not another like traditional reason for that. It's just something from around World War II, something like that. As many things are. But what else about shadow work? Because it's like, you had your crown the whole time. You didn't need a king. And, you know, move around the genders as applicable. But the queen, both the queen and the king are whole. They don't necessarily need that other half. The magician. I know this is upright, but I'm getting manipulation from this. Because magician has something from all four suits on their table. So that could be the manipulation that was tried on you. Or, and, either. It could be your shadow work giving you the tools you need to hold off deception that was trying to keep you in place, trying to keep you away from whatever your Ace of Cups is. And just the audacity of people to try and keep you away from what will make you happy. Like, does it not occur to them that if they successfully accomplish that, whether it's out of this, like, I'm protecting you, or whatever, like, stupidness, then you're going to be unhappy. If they keep you away from the things that make you happy, you're going to be unhappy. Not that controlling people really care about that. Because another thing, you know, if you have to manipulate the situation, if you have to be dishonest, I don't know. Are you in the right? It's a good question. Ooh. 5 of Wands. That kind of flew out. Conflict. And this is active conflict. conflict of principles. Yes, so saith the candle. All the flickering going on. Because it's bringing me back to that, like, you know, if you're being deceptive, are you the one in the right? And that's a good question to ask. Just a question for reflection. Because I try as best I can to not be an absolutionist. There are situations where being deceptive is the right thing to do, because you might be doing that to protect your own safety. You're not going to get any judgment from me. If you're being deceptive to take advantage of somebody, now we're, you know, doing something bad here, because you knew well enough to be deceptive that what you were doing is wrong, or they wouldn't accept it, you know, presented factually, you know, in the cold light of day, if everything was laid out on the table. So then you get into this, like, I don't know, legalese battle or whatever about, like, well, is omission lying? Yes, because then it's not informed consent. If somebody's agreeing to something like eternal wish fulfillment or whatever, and you're not presenting them with all the relevant information, that's lying. Like, that's being deceptive in a bad way. That's not self-preservation. You're trying to take advantage of someone. That seems like something Sekhmet would not be happy about. As the energy was interesting. It had an urgency to it. And then it was kind of gone once I landed on the theme of destructive change. Just like, well, not much to say, I guess. What? I don't feel like advice is the right question. But if this conflict is active, it seems to me like it's still ongoing. And really what we want to do, just thinking in terms of like Sekhmet and Hathor, like how do we transmute this conflict so that we can move on and stop living here? Take a breath. Okay. Rest. Accept help and strength. Actually, I'm going to take all those. I mean, take a breath seems self-explanatory, and that's Moonstruck. It's definitely giving me, like, Stevie Nicks vibes. And accept help is Yin Moon, so feminine, receptive. Oh, and Yang Moon, strength. A pairing. Another pairing. Huh. But maybe you deal with some hyper independence like me, and accepting help is really difficult for you. Might want to take a breath before responding to the help, but whether it's responding or rejecting or whatever. But I'm also getting the sense, too, that you want to evaluate the help carefully. Yeah, evaluate the help carefully. Just try not to cough in your ear. One sec. There we go. I think I got it. Because it feels clingy. Like this energy feels clingy. Because these crooks, these shepherd crooks, or hooks, like you grab sheep with them. Maybe that's coming from the King of Cups, whoever that represents here. Oh, and back to the King Tut. It's like they're running out of time. They're running out of time before their tomb is going to be sealed. Metaphorically, that they've only got so much time to deceive you and convince you to stay. And it seems like it's already failed. But there's like another attempt coming. Which I think is what the take a breath and the accept help and the strength are about. Because maybe it's going to be a more, I want to say desperate attempt. Because like, it's making me think of, every action movie that you've seen where they, like, slide under the door, like, right at the last second. They're trying to not get trapped in their tomb, whoever was trying to deceive you. Can't tell if that was flipped originally, but we've got Knight of Wands. So boundaries. Keeping your boundaries up with this person or situation. Because if the situation has come to an end and then someone who was in it or what have you pop back up, like, why? The situation's over. And you don't have to engage. No response is a response. And if you've parted ways as a result of deception, of wrongdoing, but not of meowing, hi kitten, or of conflict or something like that. Like, why would they even bother coming forward? And we did say Hierophant too, so say this is part of a larger system. Crony is the word that I'm getting. I would just be cautious of that, like, what was it? The false twin flame. Like, somebody coming forward and trying to, like, buddy with you, like, way too fast. Or, like, butter you up, or, I don't know, stroke your ego. You're a cat. You are in charge of everything. I don't know what to do about your ego. Let's see. What else about this Nine of Wands? Got two more? Justice. And the Knave of Chalices. Page of Cups. A lot of cups. I was about to say in this recipe, but in this reading. Don't know what the recipe is. Recipe for emotional manipulation? But it seems like you will prevail from this, because the subtext on the Sekhmet card is justice. And really, I mean, she's retribution, is what she is. And in a really unapologetic way. And that could be what the page in reverse is representing. Like, learning that control over your emotions, over not seeing the best in people. Because it's so easy to want to. But if you know that they've deceived you, any sort of like, I've changed, something like that, like, cool, good for you, stay changed over there. Leave me alone, like, I'm done with this. Just because you've changed, allegedly, doesn't mean I have to entertain you. It doesn't mean I have to accept you back into my life, because look at what you did with the chance, or chances, let's be so for real right now, that you were given Like, what did you do with those? Deception? Trying to keep me in place? To the point where I had to become unapologetic? Like, very Sekhmet like? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. Maybe this is the advice point now on how to move forward. How do we break out of this cycle? It could be celestial weather. Um, we've got those big transits coming up with, I think, Saturn will be moving back into Aries. And then Uranus, also in February. There's a lot of stuff early in the year. And then the eclipse season as well. What is the advice going forward? I'm quiet now, huh? Don't want advice? Don't want to give us advice? There we go. Boundaries. Okay, just kind of starting to repeat here. Oh, and cut your losses. There's that Eight of Cups energy that we were talking about. We haven't actually seen it, but... And that's giving me Capricorn season to Moon in detriment. And these people, they look like they're walking away. So, stay away from this situation if you've gotten away from it, and if not, get out. Get one more. And that's also giving me that movie, too. Get Out. It's a good movie. I haven't seen that in a while. What do we need to know about boundaries and cut your losses? Oh, we got 3. We got Strength in reverse, 10 of Cups in reverse, and the World upright. So there's that completion. So you might be feeling really tired right now. I'm also getting from this, don't try and hold on. This is just not the situation to try and preserve, like we were talking about, that destructive change. Because your 10 of Cups is not to be found here. I'm sorry if I'm the one breaking the news to you. I suspect, though, if this is a situation you're dealing with, you already know on some level that things are past their time. And it's not to say, if you don't get out specifically in Capricorn season that it's not going to happen. But maybe this is the time to grieve. The time to give yourself the space to accept that this is no more. Whatever it is, this is not for me. I'm being drawn to the dice roll that I did earlier. Virgo, Venus, and the 11th house. So if that's relevant to your situation. But holding space for that grief, if you're either trying to leave, just left, what have you, and letting the completion happen, even if you don't know what's coming around the bend. I'm not saying just be reckless and just up and quit your job. If you're headed towards that direction, though, start making a plan to exit, to find something new, to brush up your resume, just start getting the gears turning. If it's a relationship and somebody's deceiving you to try and keep you in place, Start making an exit plan privately, not something to advertise, especially not to anybody involved in the situation, even if they're neutral, even if you believe that you can trust them, because it could haphazardly just like mention that you're trying to get out and it could screw things up. So you really got to be discerning when it comes to who you're telling your plans. And there's so much less to worry about when you keep that circle of trust small, you know? So, quite a few things to think about. It seems like you're in something, though, that has reached its end, you know, here at the end of this lunar cycle here. But that means there's new things around the bend. Whole new life experiences and adventures and new people to meet and all sorts of stuff. I know it's stressful in the moment. And it's hard. But we will get through this together. We've survived all the previous full moons. We'll make it. What do we got here? Get something special for your pet. I'm sure they will love that. And that's a great way to just take your mind off of things. You know, a little act of care, a little act of service, you know, for your little furry friend. Or if you don't have a furry friend of your own, maybe your kids or your friends' kids or their pets or what have you. And for a song, we have Monster, Betraying the Martyrs. This is a very high energy song, so something to really get the blood pumping, get you moving, and work through some aggression, because this really has that Sekhmet vibe to it. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.